오케이, 오케이. 오케이,
camera working.
Hey, Carol. See your keyboard. You can see your keyboard. Hey, Carol. Anyone else hear me? Anyone else hear me? Mike gave you a thumbs up. Oh, he did? He did. Carol, can you hear me?
I hear you.
This is John Stedman. I hear you.
Girl, right now, so I close it back. Building house over. Start a meeting. The city for behind. So I think she had some she's with. Are you there, Carol? You're on your.
Hear me now? Hear me now?
Can barely hear you, Carol. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Oh, I can hear you a little bit now, yeah. Hear you now.
Hear me?
Yep.
All right. I'd like to open this Board of Health meeting for April 13th, 2026 at 6:08 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Hi.
Find our agenda is first up.
I'm ready to see coffee. We have.
Yeah, it's okay. Oh, sure, they're not coming, are they?
No.
Oh,
No, you can take a chair if you like.
Maybe I'll steal one later.
Okay.
Sorry, okay.
All right, first up is the nurses report.
I'm Ann McManus, giving the March 2026 Public Health Nurse Report. The cases seen in March were 9 flu cases, 5 COVID cases, 3 Lyme cases, 1 babesiosis, one neurovirus, one enterovirus, and there was a GI cluster with 4 cases. This cluster occurred at an assisted living facility. There were 3 cases with symptoms, none confirmed to be neurovirus. 1 case was hospitalized. There was 1 neurovirus confirmed in the community. This case could not be contacted. All assisted living cases have resolved. Norovirus tends to decline in incidence in April. We will be returning the flu vaccine in May. Our senior health fair is tomorrow. The response to the scheduled hearing screening has been robust. Advertising has been done with signs, newspaper signage, and media information. Cable TV will be filming the speakers and interviewing them for a dedicated NOAA's program on cable TV. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We can't hear you, Carol, if you're talking to us.
Sorry. Okay, 6:10 PM. The next on the agenda is the RGE Water Management Plan. Someone could present from RGE on the plan. Or proposed plan.
I think Mike. Bowles here, right, Mike? Yeah, he's on one.
Yes, I am here.
So this is a draft plan being submitted.
Correct. It is a draft that is, going through different levels of review with the RGE community. And then getting revised and refined by us before issuing it as a final report or final document, I should say.
Okay, can we review the plan a little bit?
Certainly. So the plan format, the very beginning of it really goes into a brief overview of what is the water system on the property itself, how that water system fits into the bigger picture as essentially an extension of the town's water system, provides some information on the town water system for reference in terms of where ultimately the water is coming from, the various sources that the town uses, and the different treatment processes that are used, along with noting the regulatory requirements that the town is held to by Mass DEP, as is the case of any public water supplier. We then get into how this.
Mike?
Yes, go right ahead.
Can you tell me which page I should be on? You want me to?
Actually, what I was just referencing was really section 1, which is pages 1 through 2. So just a real background of the water system itself that's on the RGE property. Then it has a description on page 2 of the town water system. And kind of jumping ahead on page 5, there's a table that highlights ultimately the sources of water, all the water that any resident on the RGE community uses is ultimately coming from these town sources, which change depending upon the demands in the system, time of year, and anything else that might be going on on the town side with respect to maintenance activities or just routine rotation of sources to keep everything active. We skipped over it briefly, but figure 1.2, which is on page 4, right there, is a schematic just to make people aware of how their water piping in their house, their plumbing, connects to the water mains in the street. So the blue line is the water main in the street. Everybody has a water service that is tapped off of that. There is a shutoff. Generally speaking, those shutoff valves, which are accessible from the surface, using a special wrench. It's literally like a big long metal rod in the shape of a T. That valve is the way in which an individual service could be shut off in an emergency if needed due to a leak or some other issue within the residence. Those residences that have fire protection have a dedicated line coming in, which is highlighted in a different color there. That is a separate line coming in from the same water main in the street, but when it enters into the particular residence, it's a separate line coming into the basement of that unit. So that was really just, oh, go ahead. Skipping ahead, there is a map of the town. It is right there. That I intended to just give a sense of where the RGE community lies within the greater town system. So there are two turquoise colored squares. Those are the locations of the town's two water tanks. In general, the water piping connecting everything kind of comes in and out of the town center, if you can picture that. So essentially the center of that, the geographic center of the town too. So there is a water tank, the Walnut Street tank, right around the corner from the community. But the Farm Street tank, which is almost due south, slightly southeast, water from that tank to get to the RGE community essentially needs to go back into the center of town and then come back out, just based on the lay of the road network and piping that follows the roads. Then I've also noted the wells that were noted on the previous table, just location-wise, and it's just how things were developed and where the water was found that was suitable for a municipal well. But it gives you a sense of the path, more or less, that water has to take to get from the source and or a tank to the RGE community. Moving ahead, briefly touched on plumbing and piping within essentially the water system within a particular residence. Trying to make this as generic as possible. If you skip ahead one page, that'll be easier to walk through a graphic. Sorry about that. That showed up a lot smaller than expected. It is essentially a schematic of a typical household, and I take for granted that people know the plumbing and the piping within their house, but I have learned that is not the case. So it just gives a sense of, or a reminder of, how the water comes into pretty much everybody's basement. That same blue potable water colored line has branches off at different points to feed say, a humidifier that's associated with the air conditioning and heating system. It branches off to hot water heater for hot water use. People may or may not have a utility sink in their basement, but it would feed that if that was the case. And then it goes to the obvious fixtures. Say we've separated them into the different floors, washing machine, in the kitchen, the sink, dishwasher, refrigerators that often have cold water and ice components, bathrooms, which can have any mix of things, including, typically the sink, faucet, toilet and shower tub, something of that nature. And that, again, bathroom fixtures can be duplicated into a second bath with those same fixtures, or whether it's a half bath or 3/4. But this was really just to give you a sense of the different locations where water ultimately ends up. I did forget to mention there, most units, I would imagine, do have a exterior hose spigot for outdoor watering. That will become important later on when we talk about some guidance for flushing the piping. So then moving into the next section was really about clarifying who's responsible for what piece of this overall water system and how the water ultimately gets to individual residents. So I think we can skip right ahead to the next page, which was a table, and it separates into the different groups that are involved. Town DPW, who is really the ultimate water supplier, the RGE Trust, RGE residents, and then kind of on the side, Mass DEP and the Town Board of Health. So in terms of the water system offsite, clearly it's entirely the town DPW with oversight from Mass DEP. Once the water is on the RGE property, the community property, it's an interesting mix. So the piping itself that's in the ground outside of people's residences, so everything that's buried, is technically owned by the community through the RGE Trust. That's in terms of any leakage, future maintenance, in terms of taking care of things so that they are reliably working when they're needed. But then in terms of water quality, the water that's in that piping, even though it's in the RGE community's piping, the responsibility for that water quality goes back to the town, because the RGE community is not treating it in any manner. They are just simply passing it along, and ultimately each resident is a customer of the town's water system. You have an individual meter and get billed accordingly. As we get down to one unique piece is the RGE clubhouse. That, in terms of anything that's needed to be done inside that for flushing pipes, repairing things, that is part of the RGE Trust / community. It's a responsibility. And then the final piece at the very bottom of that table is just clarifying that, no different than any other homeowner connected to a public water system, piping within the house and the need to maintain and individual components or equipment, and the need to, say, flush after a particular event, would be the responsibility of the specific residents. So that was very helpful to clarify, because it then in turn prompted some further discussions between myself and the trust in terms of part of this document includes a formal flushing plan for the piping, the buried piping on the RGE community property. Similar to what the town is currently doing on their water system, if you've noticed any of the signs around town. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Next, we jump into essentially what the plan would be in terms of really best practices for the different groups. Really focused primarily on what we would expect the trust to be doing on the community part of this infrastructure. And just as a reference point, I had mentioned flushing of the water mains themselves. And we have developed a draft flushing plan, which is essentially working your way step by step through the piping, opening hydrants selectively, closing valves selectively so that you can feel confident that whatever water is getting pulled into that section of pipe is from a section that you've already cleaned or flushed out. So you're progressively flushing fresher water into the mains until you eventually work your way through the entire network of pipes on the property. We have coordinated with the town. They are finishing up their flushing program for the town piping more or less at the end of this month. And the current tentative plan is that flushing of piping within the RGE community would happen sometime after the beginning of, essentially the first week of May. And there isn't a lot of time to shift it because very quickly it'll get warm out, and we will quickly get into a water conservation period through the warmer months where it really wouldn't be advisable to be flushing and essentially wasting a lot of water out onto the streets. So this will be the first run of this, and we'll be modifying the flushing plan accordingly after that happens. And then expecting that this will become an annual occurrence for the water piping within the RGE community. I'm going to skip right ahead to page 14, which gets into a similar kind of plan for the individual residents or homeowners. And there's a bunch of text here that outlines, recommendations for kind of good practices, time periods or frequency of, say, running water out of an infrequently used fixture. Say you have a second bathroom that, just doesn't get used a lot. People would wonder, should I be running water out of that at a certain amount of time? How long should I run it? Etc. So this currently in here is an overview of that, and in parallel with that, I'm going to hold it up here. I don't know if you can see that. It's essentially a brochure, final format, still under review. I don't know if I had sent that over to John, to you earlier today, or, this afternoon.
Is this a guidance for homeowners?
Correct.
Yeah, we have it.
And essentially what the intent of that was to provide this guidance in an easier format to follow so that somebody could literally look at it. And what it contains right now is, guidance on maintaining your interior water system, and it's specifically targeting homeowners. Uh, you know, I had just said, how often should you flow fixtures that just don't get used a lot? It's recommended those get flushed or run once a week, but just open it full for about 2 minutes. That's all it would take. And then in general, if you're not using water throughout the unit for more than a week, so say even an extended vacation, it would be advisable to do some type of flushing, which we provide a step-by-step procedure for doing that. And then other things or times when it would be warranted would be anytime you have plumbing work done inside your house. Ultimately, if you have a water tank replaced, anything that's literally cutting into and disrupting piping, that would be a time where you'd want to do your own interior piping flushing. And I wouldn't assume that, say, a plumber who was doing the repair work, that they would do that. I think their focus is just making sure the water's running, and they usually just vent any air out. They're not focused as much on overall overall water quality. And then the other thing that can happen, I don't know if you've experienced it here or elsewhere, is periodically there will be disruptions in the water system itself. Whether it's due to a water main break somewhere in the town system, could be a fire event that all of a sudden flows through the piping are significantly greater than normal, tends to stir up some things, and people will end up with discolored water. The flushing program that the town does is their effort towards trying to, over time, remove that, but it's easier said than done to eliminate all that. So if you do have those kinds of discoloration or events, that would be another time to implement the recommended flushing. And essentially, the recommended flushing is looking at separating your piping into cold water system first, then your hot water piping, and going to each fixture, starting at the basement level and moving up, and opening those fixtures as possible and flowing water. And we're not talking any huge amount of time. In general, once the fixtures are all open, if you've let it run 10 minutes, you've more than adequately flushed all the water from the main out through your interior piping. And then the shift would be from the cold water onto the hot water and doing the same. And then other little things, keeping an eye on shower heads, making sure they're clean. They can be a spot that collects or promotes bacterial growth, which often will show up as sometimes as like hardness deposits, or sometimes you will see it tends to be like a pinkish discoloration that's actually like a mild bacteria growth trying to take hold. And I have seen that personally on my refrigerator filter where it connects in. Then you just take a Q-tip and swab around it, clean it off, and you just want to keep it so that it doesn't have a chance to kind of take hold and flourish. Because I think as that was mentioned months ago when we had a previous meeting, that the conditions have to be right for any kind of bacteria to get to the point where it's a problem, a health problem. So what you're trying to do is your part in keeping it at a minimum, because those bacteria are present just in nature. The other thing, we do list out specific items that warrant cleaning, and the frequency of cleaning, such things like shower heads, removing faucet aerators, cleaning out spray hose aerators, at kitchen sinks, pretty much on an annual basis, unless you see that something is happening more frequently. Uh, Things like flushing out a hot water tank on an annual basis. And then jumping into things like home water treatment systems, which might be point of use. So those might be just a simple cartridge filter on your kitchen faucet. Point of use also would be the filter in the refrigerator for the ice and cold water. Those things you really have to, oh, and then there's point of entry systems, which would be treating everything that goes into your plumbing system. Those things absolutely require following the specific manufacturer's instructions for maintenance frequency, things to watch for, um, and then how to address things if they happen. We do know specific concerns that I don't think anybody would be surprised if, individuals that have specific health issues, underlying health issues, or compromised immune systems for whatever reason, just need to consult with their physicians or medical care staff. And it may be, certain medical equipment does use water. So it may be for those individuals that your healthcare professional will recommend using distilled water or something like that. Um, but it's just pointing out that there are those specific concerns that could apply to individuals and that they should deal with them on an individual basis. And that's kind of an overview. The plan going forward is things will be finalized to the point of presenting the guidance for the residents at a May 6th meeting at the community center at the clubhouse. And as I had mentioned earlier, around that same time, we will be working with the RGE Trust on implementing the first trial of the flushing of the water mains out in the street. So subsequent to that, flushing would probably be in a recommended time for individuals to be implementing or following some of the guidance for flushing their interior piping. Any questions or comments?
I had a question. How many units in Glen Ellen have the fire suppression systems installed? Is it just a clubhouse or?
No, the multiple attached units, so the carriage houses,
Okay,
that style, I believe if it's 3 or more units, they have dedicated fire protection systems, sprinkler systems inside. Those sprinkler systems are not part of this water management plan. Those maintenance for that is something that's being clarified with the trust right now in terms of responsibility. But I do know that even right now, those systems have dedicated backflow preventers, which they should, as part of the plumbing code. And those backflow preventers are tested and inspected by the trust or a contracted company. So homeowners should not need to touch the fire protection system at all.
Backflow valves will protect the water system, the rest of the water.
Correct.
So you're recommending different sorts of filters or those parts of your recommendations, like types of filters that residents?
We're not recommending any filters. Everybody has their specific concerns or preferences, I would say, too, because a lot sometimes relates to taste. Things like chlorine, some people appreciate it's being present because it tells them that, oh, it's disinfected. Other people view it as a chemical, and I don't want that taste or smell. So what we do touch on is that the town is mandated and monitored by DEP to adhere to drinking water standards. And if they were to not comply, every resident or customer would be receiving some type of notice through them, through Mass DEP, where depending the severity of it depends upon what exactly the issue is. You know, people have heard of boil water orders. You know, it could be as much as that, or it could be just sometimes you'll get a notice from a water supplier that they failed to take a sample at the right time. So they didn't follow the rules like they should have, but we can't go back in time. By the time you find out about it, it's months later. But everybody has access to the town's summary of that testing information. It gets published. They're mandated to publish a report on it called the Consumer Confidence Report, that they have to publish that annually for the previous year. And the town posts that on their website.
I think it's also available in the library
Okay.
in a printed version.
This is Jaikar, Chair. May I ask a question?
Okay.
This is a question directed at Mike. So from what I understand, in terms of the basic construct or basic theme of the proposed or the draft water management plan, it's kind of a two-prong, which is DPW is to do what they need to do to ensure water quality up into the boundary of Regency Glen Ellen. And then at which point there's flushing that will be done. And I'm hearing that town is going to do the flushing inside the Regency Glen Ellen.
No, at this point, the town will not do that. That may happen at some point in the future. At this point, we are putting together a estimated effort and scope to do that as part of our work.
Okay, good.
At least for the first time around, which I think will be very helpful to kind of troubleshoot. And then in the future, it would still be somebody contracted by the trust.
Okay. And then, and then the other prong within Regency Glen Ellen is educating homeowners as to what they need to be doing. And each household refining those recommendations based on medical conditions, preferences, personal preferences, etc.
That's it, exactly.
Okay. So are you hoping that the flushing, both exterior by DPW as it has a regular program of doing so for the entire town, and your to be arrived at yet program for internal flushing of the water mains takes care of stagnation within the pipes that is delivering the water to each individual home? Because that is part of that's part of what's setting up this condition of concern around Legionella. And as a former architect, I have a concern when pipe delivery sizes for water are increased, because now you have more surface area by which to have water stagnate, water to grow biofilm, etc. So those are larger pipes than were originally designed for this community. And I'm presuming the engineer did their, due diligence to make sure they were appropriate for the actual construction aspect, but I don't know that they did due diligence for the increase in water surface for growing biofilm and for setting up, contamination sites. So I think that's important to put into the equation for how often and what kind of volume we're going to be doing for flushing inside the facility, inside the community, because that is a real concern. Okay, so are you, in the education of your individual residents, are you doing any sort of follow-up that people understand, that people are doing that there's a process by which people can go to a certain entity or group of entities to ask questions or get help or get support for this? Because it seems to be relying a lot on the individual efforts in terms of keeping up the basic hygiene of the water delivery systems into the homes.
Yes. We haven't talked about any kind of follow-up structure. Personally, I'm happy to talk about this stuff to anybody, anytime, but
Well, in terms of it incorporating it into your water management plan. I mean, any time you expect people to take up new behavior, it's wise with humans to always do
And-
a follow-up and a support
Yeah.
process, because it's new behavior, right?
Understood.
Yeah.
And just to comment briefly on what you noted on the flushing program, stagnant water, that is exactly what is the goal during that is we look at a particular section of pipe, we know how much water is in there based on its diameter, its length, and we are isolating the network of piping into distinct sections that we are confident we can open a hydrant and at a set rate that we will be monitoring, a flow rate, know that in a certain period of time, we will be completely changing out the entirety of the water in that section of pipe. So that by the time we have finished the flushing plan for the residents at Glen Ellen community for that system, there would not be any stagnant water in there.
But it doesn't necessarily mean there won't be biofilm in there. Biofilm, to disperse biofilm, you need more than velocity and exchange of water.
Correct.
So that needs to be addressed because there's already biofilm in the system. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Matt, do you have any questions?
No, I think it seems reasonable, just need to have the appendices filled out, because that's where some of the checklist and
Hmm.
sort of, I think, as Jaikar described, where the rubber meets the road.
Yep.
But it also makes sense to come for a first pass right before doing the whole thing, so that's not a criticism, it's just an observation.
It's a work in progress.
How are you planning on educating, say, future owners, people who buy their house? Future, to know how to do this and what they need to do.
I will defer to the individuals there from the trust.
So one of the reasons why we asked Mike to both do this plan, the document that you walked through, but then also the trifold, is that we plan on sending the trifold to homeowners on an annual basis. Especially those that winter elsewhere, or some Scarborough residents summer elsewhere, and then they come back in the fall. So the idea would be to reflash this on a regular basis. So even if someone buys the home later on down the road, it's coming upon the trust to resend that on an annual basis. And it'll be available on our website, so that homeowners can self-serve.
You did just remind me of a question that I should have asked, and maybe I missed it in there. Is there a separate, I don't want to say plan, but maybe guidance for people that are not there all the time? Because the way that I read it, it was if you're here all the time, flush it like this. And would the guidance be different if you came back every 6 months or whatever?
Yes, and I think Mike addressed that. So after an extended period, even as few as 3 weeks, I think Mike would recommend.
Okay.
The extended flushing program that he describes.
Oh, okay, sorry. I missed it.
Yeah.
There was a lot to cover.
Sounds good.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions that they want to ask about the plan? David, you came from the our the town of Millis. Are you gonna address anything?
The only thing I can say is that we'll continue, if you're talking to me, we'll continue, checking that hydrant out in front of the, Glen Ellen to make sure that, we're up to snuff there. And I did tell Mike, I'll try to do the one at the Plimpton Road one. It's a little more difficult because there's no place to put the water and there's no, catch basins for it to go. So the only place to do is to shoot it at people's lawn. But, we will check it periodically, not as much as we do the other one. We usually check that daily or every other day. We'll try to get it every once a week or at least try.
And I do want to not only thank Mike, who's doing this work for us from CEI, but CEI has been in communication with the town of Millis. We've had great cooperation with the DPW, and so we very much appreciate.
We're here to help. I mean, we know this is, not everybody's understanding and there's just questions and everything else. We're here to help and we want to try to make everybody happy. So no questions, questions. I'm just.
I would just like to say something myself, if I could. Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, the training for the people inside the houses, Legionella training and the temperatures of the chlorine. Is Mike, have you written that area? I thought there was a little bit, but it wasn't that detailed.
There's more in the separate brochure guidance that was targeted, but nothing targets Legionella specifically. And the reason for that is there's a lot of stuff that can happen in the water systems. And what we were preparing was kind of good practice for taking care of the water system in general, not targeting any specific bacteria or group of bacteria. And also looking at it from a perspective of 5 years from now, that issue may not be there in terms of the water temperatures, as the development matures and trees mature, etc. So we wanted to also make it more of a longer living guide and not just a response to a particular concern. And the practices that are being recommended is exactly what you would be doing if you were just trying to avoid Legionella bacteria outbreak. It's information, and we are going to be footnoting a lot of this. You know, it's from CDC or various state agencies in terms of good practices for addressing and preventing Legionella bacteria from flourishing and creating a problem.
Basically reducing biofilm and any risks as much as possible in the system.
Yes, as much as possible, which is, you know, that's the balancing that every public water system is trying to do.
Have any further questions?
Say too, as you know, the Board of Health issued 2 letters of concern, one to the trust and one to Toll. Toll hired an epidemiologist who wrote extensively on this and has quite a background in this. So the work that Dr. Capello did is informing CEI's work as well. As Mike said, we didn't want to make this so narrowly focused that it was only a direct response. This is a great thing for the trust to have going forward as we mature as an organization.
So you'll continue to work with the tolls expert, CEI, and coming up with this plan together. A good team. Any further questions on or Mike today? All right, so you're having a meeting in May 6th.
Correct.
You expect you're gonna have the final version shortly thereafter?
Yes.
Chair Jayakar, can I ask a question, please?
Go ahead.
So one thing I don't see also that I think is important to address is if a resident has a concern based on, even if they go to the point of testing and they get test results, do you have a protocol by which that information reaches, again, some entity that then needs to take action on that, which it would include notifying other residents, maybe doing further testing, who pays for that further testing, et cetera. It's not very clearly spelled out that I can see what the interface is between the individual residents and the HOA and whatever governing body is responsible for the implementation of the water management plan. And if I were a resident, I would want to know, who do I go to?
Yep.
What, you know, et cetera.
We can clarify that in the document, but in a nutshell, physical issues with the water system on the community water system would go to the trust. But water quality issues essentially go directly from the resident to the water supplier, which is the town.
Right, but given that what prompted this is concern about some of the test results that showed, depending on which one of the experts you ask, Legionella, or maybe Legionella.
Well, it was Legionella, it just wasn't to the extent or the type that was of a concern from a health perspective.
Well,
Or
that's a very general conclusion. It might be a health
and
concern depending on the individual, might be health concerned.
correct.
And for that, you know, more individuals. So again, since there is a seed of an issue, so right now what I read in this draft is it's up to the individuals to do the research that then goes to the trust that then takes some sort of action. Is that accurate?
For water quality concerns?
No, not talking water quality, talking bacterial concerns?
That's water quality.
Oh, so you're calling that water quality? Okay.
Yes. Versus, and I separated into anything to do with the water quality. So the chemical parameters, chlorine amount, pH, what chemicals are being added by the town, does it have PFAS? Any of those requirements and the bacteria are part of that group versus the physical infrastructure, which is the piping.
Okay. I was thinking you were talking water quality as in the water coming into Regency Glen Ellen from the town. Making sure that chlorination is accurate, making sure that bacterial element is accurate. So that's helpful to have that called out.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to highlight that better and make it more direct in terms of these issues. This is who you call.
Mhm.
I think the trust had commented that given the history, it would be good for them to be copied on such information, but the direct line for those types of water quality issues really should be from the customer or the resident direct to the water supplier, which in this case is the town. And you know, we tried to clarify some things. Say on the topic of chlorine, you can correct me if I'm speaking correctly, Dave, but the water supplier is not required to have a chlorine residual or any trace amount of chlorine at each customer's service. They're required.
It's recommended to have, some sort of
Correct, but
trace.
it's not, they're not in violation of a drinking water standard, so it would not be an issue with or a concern to Mass DEP. So the requirement for them as a water supplier, given their particular sources and history, is to have a residual of a certain residual as the water enters the system, which then, as you can imagine, fluctuates depending upon water use, time of year, all sorts of factors.
That is correct, and also, just because if there's no chlorine in your line, chlorine does expire. It does lose its potency it generally has a 30-day lifespan. So that's why when we dose, a lot of times when we get a new batch, we have to dose a little bit less in the beginning and ramp it up as it goes towards the end of how much we have, because it is losing its potency, so we're actually injecting more into the system.
And how often are you looking at that?
Every
day?
second.
Is that
Every second.
Meaning
Yeah, we have
electronically?
we have
looking at that?
analyzers that go to SCADA system, which keeps control of everything.
Hmm.
We have to have, every well has a certain set point, which we have to keep a minimum of, and generally it's 0.70.
Okay.
And if it goes below that, alarm goes off, SCADA phone rings, and we're running to make sure that it gets back up. The well shuts off automatically once it gets to that point, because it doesn't want to inject or anything that's not supposed to be. So that's very cool.
I just want to add something, because I think Jakor is asking around this, so I'll just address it directly. We don't have any plans as a homeowner association to do any sort of testing for temperature, chlorine, Legionella, or anything, any type of surveillance. And as Mike said, we are responsible as an HOA for the physical structure of the pipe. So if it gets damaged in construction, or if we spring a leak, those are clearly the responsibility of the trust. Beyond that, the town's water comes into the system, it flows to retail customers, and if those customers have an issue with their water, we are not a water authority. We don't add chlorine, we don't have the ability to adjust temperature. So there's really no point in us surveilling any of that, because there's nothing we can do about it, and we have no responsibility for it. So I think we went down a road last summer in the last couple of years, doing a lot of testing and trying to figure this out and going into private residences, which we have no more right to do than the town does. When really this is a retail customer and water authority issue, and that's how we're treating it. And so we are providing this information for residents, and we are providing information for the trustees and the trustees of the future, so that we take care of the clubhouse and the infrastructure and flushing and maintenance and all these things, just as we're doing for all of our other infrastructure. But we are not going to do any sort of water surveillance going forward.
And there is no regulation on temperature, and a lot of people have their thoughts on that, but there is no regulation on temperature. And it does happen, even our water guys, because we've been racking our heads trying to figure all this out as well, so, we have people who live in different towns and they test their water and it's up over 83 degrees.
Yeah.
It's not
I
just
have a
here.
place in the city and I've said this before, we're a 5-level condo in the city, and our water temperature, when I tested it during the summer, was north of 82. And
So it's what it is.
And
It's just, it is where we live, it's warm in the summer, and I'm sure it was nice and cold during winter.
And then to address your other concern about stagnation, there's really only two factors that can control stagnation. It's the design of the system, which again, as a trust, we have no control over. It is what it is. It's approved by the town, back in the teens for construction. And then retail demand. And again, we have no control over retail demand. And so that demand is probably quite a bit less than the design to feature. You mentioned that. The design to may have been for firefighting purposes more so than it was retail demand. And of course, we need that in the event of fire. So there's really nothing as a trust we can do to prevent or improve stagnation either.
Well, you can do things to improve stagnation, and you run into concerns around water use, and water drainage. But there's always something you can do in terms of stagnation. It's just a matter of kind of, keeping a balance. And that isn't, again, as you said, you're not experts in this. That was a helpful commentary you made in terms of where the responsibility is going to, and it's very intentional. And for the reasons that you've made that choice. We as a Board of Health have, a different, it reminds me that we're all around a table, right? And everybody's view is a little different because of where they are on the table. Board of Health is a little different because our job, our mandate, is to serve the public health. So this is how we got into this. We're not the DPW, we're not a resident, we're not an HOA member, but it's our mandate that we are elected to by and serve the state. And in our case, we serve Millis as well as, residents of Massachusetts. So we do have to do a little bit of oversight because that is our mandate. So that's our view on the table. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for my other two board members. We haven't had this discussion as a board, but that is, for me, very clearly our job and why we are, having this conversation with you, which I'm appreciating that, you are having this conversation. So I'm curious, I'd actually like to hear from my other board members what, where they are, what, kind of how they imagine our responsibility is. Because we've heard from the HOA or a member of the HOA what their responsibility is, and we have the draft of this water management plan. And again, not to put anybody's feet to the fire, because we're just seeing this draft as well. And as I said, we haven't met as a board, but I'd like to hear from my other board members, kind of what's up in their mind at this point.
I think I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what the risk is. Like, we talked to the expert, Dr. Capella, I think a couple meetings ago. He basically said there's not a lot of risk. The water temperature issue, the hot ground water. Seems like it's more common than is being recognized or recorded. And maybe this is not an anomaly, maybe it's more well spread than we know about, because who is testing the water temperatures in other, say, condos or developments? I think we still have a lot to learn on all this. Biggest issues, or my biggest issue would be the chlorine dropping because of stagnation and possible growth. Biofilms of bacteria. That would be the biggest concern. Stagnation.
So I would argue two things. One is I think that this plan is quite reasonable to mitigate whatever risk is there. I mean, there's only so much that can be done. The town is doing what they can do. This monitoring plan, I think, allows for flushing, which maybe is the most homeowners can do. And if anything else is seen, then they bring it up, which is really sort of my second point. I know that it took time to get us involved and all sorts of things, that in many ways it was because it was an anomaly. However, the concern did come straight from the customers, I think, as you put it. Which I think this plan also supports. So I think using the system that is in place makes sense. And I do think it was a bit of an anomaly, like you mentioned, that maybe no one in this room knew that town water could be so warm. I had no idea, you know, and now that we do. So anyway, I think that this has been a pretty reasonable plan to sort of mitigate risk where you can. And I guess what I would add is if anyone has a lot stronger concerns, they can make changes in their residence, right? They can put in UV filters and all sorts of other things if they're super concerned.
And somehow.
Yeah.
That is there, and what we're cautioning them is make sure you maintain those, whatever you install, that you use it properly, maintain it properly.
Yeah.
Some of the reading I have done too is, water heater temperature. Some people don't like to turn it up too high, but it says, you know, it should be almost at the scald point, and then, and then you do something to do. So if you don't burn yourself, but when I was reading the temperatures, it should be between 140 and 170, and that actually kills Legionella.
Pretty much everything.
Cause I know my wife didn't want it too hot until, you know.
Well, especially when you have little kids, right?
Yeah,
That's usually
exactly.
what makes people change it. So maybe the other thing I would just add, because I think this was sort of touched upon, I also think this plan is reasonable for most, if not all, microorganisms. Because the chlorine can only do, the chlorine should take care of it as long as it is maintained, like you had mentioned. It's constantly monitored by the town. That's sort of what the town can do, and again, with the flushing, I think that probably helps, but also you make a good point with heat. Doesn't take care of your cold water, but it takes care of your warm water and making sure that's sufficient to kill any microorganisms. Oh, sorry, what I was gonna say was, I agree, I think you had mentioned, and maybe Mike did as well, that this plan takes care of the different classes, right? Because none of them need to be treated specifically. You don't need an E. coli management plan and a Legionella, et cetera. So I guess that was a lot of words to say. This feels pretty reasonable to me. And I think it's a good plan moving forward, as long as the appendices are sufficient.
And we've actually seen a draft of the appendices, and they're very specific: flow rates, valves to open, valves to close, time to flow. And this is what CEI does. They've done, but I think a very good job.
Yeah. And I do hear Jaikar's point, and I agree with her. I do think there's a bit of responsibility that a homeowner has to take, that if it's your water, to take care of it. So there's sort of a mix between making sure people are empowered with the right information, but then also expecting them to take the responsibility to utilize it.
Another huge thing too is a lot of people don't think about is road screens.
Yeah.
In your sinks. A lot of people don't clean them out till they're the
The ones
water
I've
coming
never-
out of
I've
them.
never cleaned them till I
And
replace
they
the
are
faucet.
disgusting when you take them off.
But that's a great point, that if you read Dr. Capella's report, it says you're more likely to find Legionella than not to find it, right? And we did find it in a couple of homes that, again, the screens were not removed. So it may not have been in the water, it may have been in that screen.
But when we do sampling, we have to take those screens off.
Any other discussion on the water management plan? Ready to, miss this till next month? Get the full, report. Plan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now they wanna talk about jumping into the water.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so next item on our agenda is 7:14 PM. Is the RG pool approval with variances. Like this is an amendment for last month. Go ahead. Do you have the plan to bring up?
Sorry.
So. Last meeting, we discussed,
Yeah.
we'll go.
Accept that. Okay, very good.
Question was when the lifeguards are on lunch break. Lifeguards required. If guests or children or adult are in the pool. And it was proposed that pool attendants can substitute for a lifeguard during the lifeguard's lunch break. For no more than 30 minutes, but no guests or adults or children could be used in the pool at that time. Was there any change to this request?
No. Bob Schulmerding for the record. We were here a moment ago. My memory is that, both on 1A and then on 1C. On 1A, we've asked for, pool attendants to substitute for lifeguards during lunch breaks for no more than 30 minutes. The language in the parentheses after that, both in A and in C. The Board of Health wanted to make sure that we amplified the fact that when we have pool attendants and not lifeguards during that 30 minutes and or down in the what we call the buddy period in C, that we have no guests, either adults or children, and we've said that in parentheses. No guests, adults or children shall be permitted the use of the pool to any extent during this time, and the same down prior to Memorial Day and after Labor Day. No guests. And I believe that's the clarity that you were looking for. We agreed to during the hearing, the meeting, and you just wanted to see it in lights before we finalized our discussion.
Yes, those be changes we asked to be made or updated on the document.
Right.
Everything's consistent with what I remember. I
Right.
have a pretty good feeling that as a lawyer, you know how to update a document.
We try. We try. I'm also gonna be shorter than the previous hearing.
Ouch. Say that now.
Well, that's only because we've already gone down this road.
That's because we've been down this road. Yes.
I don't think any other, and nothing else was changed on the document.
This has changed.
Nope.
And Carol, I would argue that the part that John has pulled up is really for our information or RGE's information. It's not necessarily part of a required motion.
No.
We did. Sorry, if you could just go back up to it again.
Other way.
Other way, I'm sorry. So in the line where we're defining the qualifications of pool attendants. At least in the beginning, we did. Add 21 years or older. That's not highlighted here because it was changed then. They may be RGE residents. We actually had 6 last year and. They actually didn't come into use, but we've had them and we're gonna get them again. So we've kind of upped the responsibilities. Just wanted to point that out. So this is our request for 2026. And we appreciate your efforts and your review. Spent a lot of time with us on this.
Alright. Scroll back up to the top real quick. Alright. Okay, so we're ready to vote on it. Anyone have any comments?
I have no comments.
Alright, so motion to approve the RGE revised request for open pool hours from dated April 13th, 2026.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Alright, motion approved. Your
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. See you next year.
Thank you.
Told you. First one.
You're welcome as any of our guests.
Yes.
Well, thanks.
Only go a certain time.
Just
I was gonna
not
say,
bring lunch hour.
I more than once thought I'll show up and you'll be like, I don't tell you,
Yeah.
your rule.
It's your rule, you can't come. You're- Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matthew.
Gonna warm up. You guys getting in soon?
It's open
It's open?
as of May 1st.
Oh, okay.
Yep, not there yet.
Not there yet, but almost.
One will still be cold.
Thank you, guys.
It is 7:22, so the next on the agenda is the EHIR for the Woodland subdivision.
Oh,
Oh, is
that was canceled.
Oh.
To next May,
Oh, okay,
or June potentially.
okay, alright,
I don't know if you got the new one. You got the new one?
Say, I see septic regulations.
Septic regulations are next.
yeah, if we're not doing the EHIR, septic is next.
Right. Yeah. It's either gonna be next, May 5th, or it's gonna be June, depending on what goes on.
I don't know if you guys can see, but he gave us this awesome.
Oh, yeah, I know.
printout.
It's, if you will all here, you get this. My
It's
God.
like the size of my torso.
Yeah.
Great for my old eyes.
That.
We'll mail you yours.
Let me drop by and pick it up.
Yeah.
Alright. Alright, so there's been lots of Friday meetings on the septic regulations. The team has been kind of adding their comments to this one document. I think they basically wanted to let's start from scratch. So got rid of most the AI and most of the and just started from scratch. And what we're trying to do is remove anything that's already in Title V because we don't need to say it again. So we're going to try and shorten the regulations and make them just what is special to Millis. Um, You see a lot of the definition, if it's in Title V, it's gone. So. You just, we took out a lot. Team took out a lot.
Yeah, these are in Title V for the most part,
So it's just gonna make ours shorter,
yes.
more concise, maybe easier to follow and understand.
How were these decided on to keep versus any others?
Title V definition.
Yeah, and some of it was AI too. Tell you that, I tell you that, some was AI. But that's another story, you know, but you know, it's the same as Title V, but it's different at the same time, just the way AI wrote these things on it.
Sure.
It's just.
Well, because I hear the argument that you don't need them in two places, and that does make sense. I was curious if, like, you guys deemed these were required to be able to read this regulation and interpret it without having to go to, whatever, Title V.
Right,
with,
that's interesting,
you know.
I like that, yeah, that's right, whether or not they read the rest of the regs. They don't have to say, oh, I need Title V to figure out what this word means.
Right, like, I could imagine it could go the wrong way, where then you say, I'm just gonna include all of Title V, and that's not what my intention is, but I could imagine if there are some town-specific things that need to be in here. That might be useful. Versus, again, I wasn't part of this, so they just look like they were randomly picked, I'm not suggesting that's the truth, but. Just curious.
Yeah,
At the end, when we get our regulations down to what is Millis specific, we can go back through the definitions and see what is really missing, like what do we really need to show on our regs to make our regs understandable at that time.
That's a good idea, just revisit this section at the end, at the end of the process.
Yeah, like circle back, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
seems reasonable.
This little. Describing what we're doing. Perk tests.
protest, where is the protest?
The
No.
five,
It's in
Number
there.
5? Yes, 5, right
page 2, section 5.
here, right.
Taking out everything that's described in Title V, because if you know how to do a perk test and you're a licensed professional, then probably don't need us to tell you again what is in Title V. We just say when we want additional testing distances that are special to Millis, like the well, even like the 100 feet, the 200 feet from a river. In Wells, well, I think Wells 125 feet, that's for us. But wetlands and the water courses should be the Wetlands Protection Act and the River Protection Act, so. Do we spell it out here as well to give those distances? Because maybe people aren't going to be referring back to Wetlands Protection Act from a septic's regulation.
I think it should be here because it's relevant to septic regulations. So, I mean, things can be in more than one place, but you know, like you said, you're going to be sorting differently if you're dealing with wetland issue versus a septic issue. So
I should know this, but I don't. What does NPI stand for?
Oh, minutes per inch,
Okay.
yeah. And that's where the controversy comes in, 30 to 60, that's MPI. For new construction. That's, I think Dan and, what's his name, what's his name?
Glenn.
Glenn, yeah, Glenn and Dan both said that this didn't make sense, this 30 at all.
So what section of Title V are we comparing this to? Looks like 15-104, 105.
Yeah, something, I don't know exactly what the,
Yeah, it's in the, it, a little bit above it says it. Since it is a little, I don't know if contentious is too strong, but I just thought it might be good to understand where their dyspepsia comes from.
Kind of the way they were describing it, which I think after hearing it so many times, I wasn't getting it, like, what's wrong with 30? What's wrong with 30? If they decide 60, they just have to make the system larger. So you need more space for it if it's not working well. So it's the size of the system they're gonna create. So if you do a 30, like maybe you could build a house on it, but the system would have to be larger. That's what I'm finally hearing. Or getting. So related to the size of the system they have to build. So it's not like they're gonna say, oh, that's 60, go ahead and put the same system as it would perk at a 30. It's gonna be a twice as large system, or, you know, equivalently twice as large system. To make up for that,
and some say that the higher the MPI, the less, pollution you give to the groundwater than with, sand and stuff like that. That potentially, gets groundwater contaminated very easily. But that doesn't take that much to build a septic system with 2 MPI, which is interesting.
so that's one of our points that we're gonna have to decide on. Go to 60 or do we stay with 30? For a perk rate. For a new construction.
And I don't think any other. Maybe 1 or 2 other towns I know have the 30, but. Not many at all towns have 30.
Which, John, do you know which towns have 30?
I can't remember, I thought one was like Hingham or something like that, I can't remember exactly which towns, but I know there were 2 towns I saw it. I gotta go back and find out who they are.
So do you think Sherburne, for example, has 60?
No, they don't, they have 60 right now, they have 60, they don't have 30 either.
No, that's what I said. They have
Yes.
60, yeah.
60, yeah.
Understand the pros and cons of 60 versus 30. That's one of the things we should be researching, because that's what we're gonna have to decide on at some point. As a board, do we change or do we keep 30?
Is 60 in Title V?
Yes.
There's
It allows it up to 60, which
yes.
is a little different than saying 60.
New construction and upgrades get up to 90 MPI. And after that, it's a tight tank.
So our question is, do we make it more strict or not? Is that right?
Well, actually, it's loosening it.
Yeah,
Right, to go to,
looser-
right, but 60 is looser, right? So 60 is loosening it.
Yes,
Yeah.
loosening the ability to go through a new, new property to actually build past 30 If you get 30, past 30 MPI, you can't build on that. So the 60 allows them to do it, but the increase in the SAS will be twice the size of 30. So that's, they have to, realize that, but it's probably gonna have to get an acre of land to do it as well.
So it's supposed to give you the same treatment, it just means the system has to be bigger.
Right.
The slower per, make the system bigger.
So that's the trade-off, right?
Yeah, but then they'd have to try and fit. If they have like a,
Yeah, yeah. So are we setting it up that we keep getting every other new construction is a variance permit, right? They're looking for a variance on our regs. If we set it to 60, then we have larger fields. Are we setting ourselves up to have to be doing more variances than we want to be doing?
according to Glenn Ayers, we shouldn't be giving any variances. Like, it should be very rare. We shouldn't be.
I agree, but that's what it sounds like. This sounds like a setup for doing variances. If we're asking for a bigger system, because with going to 60.
If they got a 60 perk rate and they can't fit a system onto the property that they have, they can't build. So it's not really changing it from a 30 perk rate because they couldn't build on that site anyway. If they can't
Unless they go to a different type of system, right?
Yeah.
Which is a more expensive system. And then we've actually done a variance based on, kind of trying to help people out economically, which is a slippery slope too. So
Yeah,
I just think it's whatever is going to make it so that we're not setting it up to be doing more variances is what we should do. Because the variances there's always major compromise in those, where they're getting too close to a wetlands, we're getting too close to someone else's house, blah, blah, blah. So,
well, how did Glenn put it? Like, we shouldn't be issuing a variance unless they can demonstrate like significant, like injustice or something.
Right.
So they have the burden to prove to us. Not, hey, I want to build a house here. Can I put this special system in to avoid these regulations so my system won't work in?
well, if they're willing to put in a more expensive system that takes less room, is that bad?
If they maintain it, like most of these
Right.
systems, they have more maintenance to them.
Yes,
So are we
absolutely.
following this maintenance as a board of health and making sure that the owners of the house or whoever buys the house next after them is still doing whatever testing and cleaning and blah, 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 blah.
Right, so then we set ourselves up to be monitoring, which we're not set up to monitor.
And that's constantly like who's doing the monitoring?
Well, John, do you want to add that to your list of things you do every week? Go out and make sure people are doing their bi-weekly or bi-monthly, whatever.
What's that?
I think you're gonna say no. I think you're
What?
gonna say no.
I can't hear you.
I was gonna say, maybe that is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I have low confidence in the Board of Health monitoring systems that are more maintenance and not, that's no shade on any person, it's just not the nature of the beast. So to avoid that being an easy go-to,
We still don't know how many wells there are in town. Certainly, we can't look at every septic system.
yeah, exactly.
So am I right in remembering that 60 is agreed upon, but no one really knows what research supports that?
Yeah, 30 versus 60, right? That's the one where it's just like it used to be 30 and Title V went to 60, but no one knows what records, what data, what they base this on.
Right.
What handoffs were done?
And the reason I asked is
I'm not gonna say anything.
you set it to 30. What data could anyone bring us to help us understand if we should have a variance or not? I don't know that I could tell them you should do this test or whatever. We would only tell them you have to move it.
Well, so John, if you know towns that are holding the line at 30, how about calling them and asking them, what are they using for, data to do that? In other words, if they've got good reasons, let's learn them. Let's
Yeah.
learn them.
I'll try to find them. I know they're out there. I've seen it before. I have seen it before.
Got an old one from Taunton, but it's from 2004. Like, I think they've updated their regulations since 2004, but they had a 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like instead of us inventing the argument for 30, somebody else, I mean, if there's towns already holding the line at 30, let's learn from them what their reasoning is.
Why haven't they changed, or they just not updated their regs for a
Or
while?
maybe they haven't updated, right?
Alright. Oh, well, keep mulling over that question and maybe do a little research, because that's gonna be our big question, the 30 versus 60.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to do is find towns that are similar in terms of the environmental nature of the town. So we have a third of our town is wetlands, for example. So, we have maybe more concerns around aquifers and blah, blah, blah than some towns that are dealing with 10% wetlands and are a much larger town, right? So, like you said, we're unique and let's take care of that uniqueness in the regs. So, I'm thinking Concord would be a good town to ask because they have a fairly large wetland as well. They're larger towns, acreage, but they've got a lot of wetlands up there. So, that'd be a good town to call.
This is me being naive. Do we know if the soil in our town is similar to any other wetland town? Or is there anything different? Like, I guess another way to ask that is, do we have more clay for some reason in ours, but if you went to another town with wetlands, they have no clay? Is that understood?
We don't have clay that much.
We don't have
Yeah,
clay. We have a lot of ledge. So which allows us to have the underground water rivers that we have and the springs that show up here and there. So we have a lot of rock formation underground. That's something that's Millis. So you want something that has ledge, wetlands. I don't think we've got a lot of sand.
We do some places we've got sand,
In some places, like, well, yeah, right down by Tresca area.
right?
Yeah.
That one that was on Dover, it was put in when I got here for about 3 or 4 houses. That whole place was all sand.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember that one.
And I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
what I'm
Well, it's in the same area as Tresca. I mean, it's just kind of, it's in the same part of the town area, so, yeah. But
The
yeah,
reason
no,
I'm asking is, I think we all agree that we don't want anything to flow into wetlands. But I also worry that if we just compare ourselves to any other town with wetlands, we might have different soil and might set the limit higher or lower based on that.
Yeah.
Or do we only care about soil that's within a certain proximity of wetlands and everything else is 60? Because like Dan said, right, you get so far below, it's only going, so far, it's not like going horizontally miles.
Yeah, but some people think that the higher the MPI, the more treatment you get. With the stuff coming in, so the lower you get, the more. The bugs and everything else that are in the
Yeah, like the sand is like 10 and it
right,
whooshes.
it just goes right down. So even though people say sand is great. And you get less SAS size, but you could have stuff go right down. Pollute the groundwater right with it.
Yeah.
So 60 So basically 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s are pretty good at treating things as opposed to below 20, but people always say, oh, I got 10, I got 5, I got 2 MPI. And they used to say this is great for us because we have to, the size of the system is less. But they don't realize that the potential for contamination is that much greater with that.
Right.
And so I can't figure out why people, even the DEP has kind of, we haven't done anything with that. I don't know why. I don't know.
Yeah, shouldn't there be like the range within is acceptable then, 20 to 60?
Right.
Instead
Yeah,
of
60, right.
0?
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's ideally. And then as you get lower, you have to have this much, that much more safeguarding you have to put on them. But they haven't done that, so I don't know why.
I can try and figure out what other towns do 30. So I am looking at Concord's on my computer. It looks like they say 20 minutes per inch.
Oh, really? Is the one for new construction?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, usually upgrades, you can't really do that, but they don't do that, but
I was gonna say, I accidentally found the section 15.245. System serving new construction shall not be in sites slower than 60 minutes per inch. 60 and 90 minutes per inch may be granted only for upgrades of existing systems, with no increase in design flow.
So homework, figure out 30 versus 60. And why it was never changed, why we have it.
Well, maybe another way to look at it is, it was changed. Has the state, like, I don't know if you know this, John, but has the state noticed an uptick in any sort of consequences to that?
I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard that it caused any problems.
what they
Because
have.
obviously there's tons of towns near the river, we see them all the time. I know that you could do some sort of exercise where you try to find what all of them have, but it's probably safe to assume they're around 60.
And it possibly treats things more.
Yeah,
So it's, you know, when you start getting with 90, it's not good because it won't go in the ground, it'll go on top and just flood the area.
right. Because I guess what I'm getting at, Carol and Jaikarr, is if the data doesn't exist, we can't really prove one way or the other what to do. So I'm not saying this is a valid argument, but could the absence of a significant problem since the change to 60 say we're just going to go with that?
Supposedly DEP shows it for scientific reasons, but I haven't really seen the scientific reasons.
Yeah.
But you'd expect the PhDs and other people in that DEP say, this is what we did, we analyzed this, and this is what we're gonna do, but whether that or it's political, who knows? I don't know. And sometimes you don't get the exact answer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but that's but there's other Board of Health that, I mean, I know Concord has updated their regs, because I was talking to them when we were talking about the irrigation system and stuff. And they actually update their regs, they put themselves on a clock to do it every 5 years. So I'd be curious, you know, I think talking to towns that, you know, like, why did they land on 20? They've got their reasons. So it might not be data as in, you know, third party verifiable, but you know, they're boards of health and they've set numbers. So I'd be curious how did that happen?
Who was that, Concord?
Yeah,
You say Concord?
Yeah.
Has 20 MPI, not even 30?
minimum of 20. So they don't have an upper limit, so it could be up to 90. We don't,
Right.
What's that? What do you mean? What do you mean?
if they
It's
put a
20
minimum. There's no minimum in Title V. They put a minimum.
Well, they put a minimum, we have a maximum of 30. And what have they put up there? A max 20 for new construction? Wow. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
But
But
you
why-
wonder, but what, you wonder where they got the data to write, to make that number. You know what I mean? I mean. What data they develop, you know?
Maybe we can reach out to Concord and see why they did that.
Yeah. And if it went in like 30 years ago, it might be difficult to find out from the present day people in there to find out why, you know what I mean? Unless they have something in writing, so, you know what I mean? But,
Can ask, never hurts to ask.
yeah, yeah,
Like the one online is from 2009 on the website. But we'll work on that one. All right, the other question we were going over is the testing window. That's the other controversial.
testing window, yeah, the,
You know,
September 15th to May 30th, right?
yeah,
They both, Glenn and Dan both said this is not making any sense, they said. They don't believe in it at all, and
it's because they're looking at the soil morphology now and they're seeing. They're analyzing the soil more, so they say they don't need to see water.
Right,
Test.
and earlier in Title V, I think it just says the ground can't be frozen.
yeah, frozen, right.
It doesn't specify anything else. But I guess it's a question of, do we think that that's different here versus what the state sets wider? Because I mean, I guess one way to think of it is between those dates, we can't guarantee there is or isn't a drought, a flood, whatever, that could influence the results. What's so special about that time frame? Is there anything?
The ground could be frozen for most of it, 'cause it's the winter.
Right.
This is
And does
just,
that sort of take care of itself? If it's frozen, they're not gonna do it.
drought exists outside of those time periods, because we're in a drought.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're in a drought. We're already in a drought.
But
Well, that's true. I was thinking a desert type drought, but I hear you.
Time frame is our other question.
So it looks like Southborough has theirs set between 31 to 60.
Sounds what?
Southborough has their NPI set to 31 to 60.
What are they doing with 31 to 60?
That's what they're setting their perk rate. It needs to be between those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Between, interesting.
So they're adding a top or a lower limit too, just like
Right.
Concord.
Huh, no,
So
so they recognize this, the treatment you get at that level. As
Yeah.
opposed to less and less, right? Interesting. But that's gotta, oof. If you're a
But-
builder, you're going pretty. Yeah, because there's a lot of places that you hit 15, 10, 5, 2, there's tons of them out there, you know what I mean?
It's not good
It's
treatment.
it's very rare to get 30 to 60, I tell you that right now, it's rare, but. It's there even. Most of the. Perk tests. I'd say maybe. Less than 20% go over. The 30 MPI for most. And you get 15 MPI, 10 MPI, 5 MPI. 2, that's what you see most of these perk tests. Around Millis.
But it's too good, like, it's not treating the effluent,
Yeah, well, that's,
like that. Where's your treatment?
yeah.
Maybe we should look at a top level or top number 2. Because we do have wetlands and you're not treating the fluent that's coming out and getting into the soil then.
That's something we have to ask, Glenn,
Okay,
find out what this. This truly means, and whether he thinks it's good and. You know, find out what they do, when that actually is given in the regulations. I mean, I can think you'd have a lot less people being able to build new construction if you have like 31 to 60. Because, like I said, most of what you see out there in the towns, I think most towns, not all of them, most towns, below 20 is probably 80% of the times you see where you're parking.
I mean, the soil's mostly sand.
Well, not sand, but it's got sand in it, 20 MPI, it's less sand and so forth, but anything under 5 MPI is basically sand like that, sand. As you go up 10 MPI, 50 MPI, you get less and less. And some people bits of clay in there as well. But sandy loam. So yeah. You wonder 31 to 60, wow. Yeah, I think that that's very interesting.
Like Concord at 20 to 60 is a little bit more.
A little bit open more than the other one goes, but it's still, it's.
Well, we can oppose it.
I'll tell you what, all I'm saying is that people, the builders will be like. This is much worse than 60, 30 MPI, I'm just saying that, I mean,
Well, it's.
I know.
Builders, there's always a tension with builders, especially when you're dealing with, kind of natural resources. And that's a very generic, very broad statement to say, but it's, it's, how should I put it? There's cross purposes going on.
What best protects health?
Yes,
That's our question. We don't care about the
exactly.
inside.
I can tell you one thing, we do 30 to 60, I got a lot less work ahead of me. They'll be like, how many perks do you do now? Maybe once every 2 years, I don't know, I'm just kidding, but
Doesn't make
well,
sense.
repairs are busy.
There's not a lot of buildable land that's gonna be
Yeah,
privately
right,
developed
you're
anyway,
right.
so,
Yeah, we don't have that many, we don't have that much,
no.
new constructions. Especially now, maybe 10 years ago there was there, and 15 years ago, people were building these things, but now. I don't think there's that many. So,
Reach out to Southborough and Concord and see where they came up with their upper limits from.
yeah,
Because if that's giving better treatment to the soil, that's better for the environment, better for health.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. Work on that. For the time frame testing. Or time frame question of testing, do we need that still? Do we change the time frames? Like April to November, like. Was it supposed to be when the ground is frozen?
Mm-hmm.
That's. And if they are doing that with a hydromorphic testing where they're looking at the actual soil in the hole and they can see, okay, there's water in here, even if it's not present. Like, is this the old methodology that might not be needed anymore? If they can do the,
Yeah, because the models you don't need it anymore, but if you can't pick it because there's no models. It'd be good to have this in here and say you have to use it or can use it if you don't have models that you see the groundwater levels, so I'm saying.
okay. But then do we just have them do this during a certain time period?
And it should be between September and May, I mean, because it's the only time you're gonna see groundwater potentially in that area, in that groundwater monitoring pipe.
So why does the state not
Hmm?
require that then?
Is that?
Why does the state not require that then?
I think
Is it because we're closer to wetlands, so we're worried about that?
No, because the models and things like that have become very good to tell what the groundwater is at.
Okay.
The models on reading the models on the pipe, not the pipe, but it's called. It's called, next to the perk test. Deep hole.
So are we only requiring the monitoring pipes if they can't get the modeling? For
Well, he
whatever.
says he says where the agent may require, which is fine, this is fine.
May
Because
require.
you still have it in there, but you're not saying it has to happen every time. And the agent may require. Because they can't see, and you can't see what the actual groundwater is.
Okay,
Who's gonna do
so that shouldn't hurt anything to keep that in there.
Yeah, and just with those, the ones in the purple areas, I think it was Dan put that in or whatnot, but it seems pretty good. So, and it's just. I don't know if you wanted to go some more of the most controversial ones, Carol, to.
Yeah, we'll just slow down on the controversial ones.
Yeah,
The stuff
those are very.
we are.
We'll be going back to these when Dan comes in next Wednesday, was it Wednesday? No, Wednesday.
I don't think we're gonna loosen up our setbacks.
What's that?
I don't think we were planning on changing our setbacks. Right?
Where is that?
Was that chart? That chart, good, yeah,
It's right here?
yep, right there, that chart, that's the setback,
Mhm.
I'll just put into a chart to make it easy to read. So we have, private drinking well, wasn't it 120? This is saying 100 to 150 feet, what's the little star for? Minimum setback private well increased by board based on soil percolation rate, depth of groundwater, and flow rate. So if we get a 5 perk rate, we can increase the distance to the well to 150. something of that nature. So if you get something that was not gonna get good treatment from the soil type in the area of the septic, we can increase the private well setback. Does that make sense? But so that gives it 100, which is Title 5, and then we can increase up to 150 as a board. Which,
I think we have that already in our regulation, 150.
but was it always 150? Was it just 150?
125 then 150.
Okay. So who changed it?
I wonder if it was changed because of the 100-year floodplain boundary.
It's true, they changed all the flood elevation levels recently.
We also change, or I guess we're also different with vernal pools between Title V and us. So I'm wondering if there's something about that 150 that previous boards thought was important.
Yeah. But then why is it only 100 to say wetlands, banks, a river? Actually, for the vernal pools, in the setback from natural heritage, there's only certified vernal pools.
This is a naive question, but what's the difference? Someone came out and said,
Yes.
this is a vernal pool.
So someone took all the evidence and they submitted it to the state so it could be certified.
Is that a controversial thing? Like that's why people certify them now, or?
Anyone can go out and certify it, but you gotta get permission from the landowner.
Okay,
Because the landowner probably doesn't want you to certify their vernal pools if they want to build something.
fair point.
But if you get permission, you can certify it. If it's town property, pretty sure you can certify town property pools.
Sure.
Be more supporting certifying vernal pools so we know where they are. Our other one is the 100-year floodplain boundary, 150 feet. And that's because we got lots of flooding. I don't think Title 5 even mentioned it. Okay, that's probably not controversial. Well. I think that's in our current
In this area right here, 3.52%, this is the actual distances right here. This.
I'm wondering why they
Well,
crossed out like the 150 down there.
Partially, this came partially from AI, this right here. And this is the actual one that came out of last year, so I'm a major, our current regulation right here, 3.52, 62%, 3.8 right here. It shows you how that's done. So it really doesn't show in our reg, vernal pools and stuff. But we were putting these in because I think we were seeing if the AI was interesting enough to take a look at it, see what it means, I mean. But this is what we actually have.
We got 100 feet if it's downhill,
Right,
120 if it's uphill from a well.
and 125 leaching located hills, and then one was, let me see. One of these. Oh.
Flow perk is less than
See,
3 minutes.
so here's where it says, when the soil percolate rate is less than 3 minutes per inch, this, I was talking about how these things pollute more. These shall be increased by a minimum of 25 feet. Because they know it has the potential to contaminate a well better when it's got a low MPI.
So
You know
no
what I
tree,
mean?
is 25 feet gonna be sufficient? If
I
it's
don't know,
no
I don't know. It's a distance to get. Which isn't bad, I mean, to be quite honest with you, this isn't bad, really, what we have it at now. I mean, even Glenn doesn't believe in this at all, but I think there's nothing wrong with it, I think, hey, why not, I mean. You know, it's not 100 feet that Title V constantly says, Title V is 100 feet, 100 feet, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't really go higher than that for the most part. Especially if this is an oversimplification of groundwater flow patterns, it's a.
Like,
They hydraulic. Gradient is in ones, not just the surface flows. Yeah, I understand where he's coming from. He's talking more technical with this stuff and that you can't determine it by. Being uphill and downhill with this, but. Yeah,
perk rate versus uphill, downhill.
yeah. I mean, he knows his stuff. He definitely knows his stuff pretty well, but, yeah. That's something to think about, yeah.
Another point to ponder.
Hmm?
Another point to ponder. How to go with perk
Yes.
rate. I would say they took all that stuff.
Yeah. Setback of 10 feet. Following local minimum, that's the one we were talking with Dan about the project he was looking for. You know what I mean? So we're gonna go over this Wednesday and see what's going on with these are. In our local regs, the green. Our local reg. You know, in-ground swimming pool setback 25, there's nothing wrong with that, there's nothing wrong with that at all. That just stay the same.
Don't want the pool too close.
Huh?
You wouldn't want the pool too close to the septic.
Right, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Even though I think the Title V says 20 feet or something like that, 25, big deal, like, and it helps. You know, it helps situation that may have a problem.
Separate drains.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, that's actually pretty good too, I think that's pretty good. And I haven't had any complaints from any developers at all because it doesn't, you know, they know it's not good views anyways. Yeah, that's just the two of them here. Why did they come in twice? 76. 10. Oh, yeah, that's one. That was just measuring whether they were before. This is the one that says the 10 feet.
What's the system capacity? 10 bedrooms maximum
Yeah, that's a good idea, right?
or 5 bedroom unit.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is the one that I think Dean will be talking about, so. And what does it say? Yeah, so. Keep learning, you know, there's
Automatic
See what this is, That's that one. He didn't comment on this one, maybe it seems, maybe he did. So 10 bedrooms. Tax construction. No one knows the reason why that's been taken into account. I talked with, or the board member,
Kathy,
Kathy. And, she was gonna try to look it up. And get back to me on this one.
guess we
This
can
is
wait,
interesting. Huh?
we can wait for her to see where the history on that was.
Yeah.
Two-stage pumps.
Pump change of design, that's a very interesting one because. Two states pumps. Vegan tonic, thing. And both. Lenaz has said in this that. It's not, shouldn't be done. Use of duplex pumps is required in Title V commercially establishment in large systems, I think 3 units. But it's, you can't figure out why this has even passed at all, and to be honest with you. The Millis Health Directives since 1995, and when this was put in 1991, have allowed the one pump on all plans for the pump chambers. Including myself, but I looked at all the plans from every director, 1995 it started, and they all said one pump, not 2 pumps.
Cause the idea, right, is that they have alarms and all that sort of stuff, so there's already.
There's alarms on it right now.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so suggesting that there's no need for redundancy.
Right, yeah. And Glenn has put a big statement here. Last systems that require duplex pumps also have alarms, should one.
I was gonna say, because it says to do an alarm, it seems. Reasonable.
Yeah, so this I think should be taken out.
How many people have come to us requesting a variance to not have 2 pumps?
No one.
Do you think
Yeah.
that's because people are doing it or ignoring it?
Yeah, they were ignoring it. I mean, I didn't even know that it was really in there, to be honest with you. And. I looked up the back, regulations from all different directives from years and years and years. And every 1995, which is 3 or 4 years since this was actually put in, the regulation. It's just one pump. So.
We're not even enforcing it in our own regulations.
Yeah, and Title V says if it's commercial or there's three units. On a septic system, you need that, but that's it, 3 units.
Doesn't make sense to have it.
Hmm.
It doesn't make sense to have it.
It should be taken out, it should be completely gone, to be honest with you. That,
You choose crossing it out today.
how do I cross it again, system, do this,
I think you hit a delete and it should make it have a red line through it.
oh yeah,
So-
you're right, I think I can do it like, delete. Oh, no, it did that to me.
Undo.
Yeah.
Make it.
Okay. Where okay, this the. Let's see, I know I did this before. What the heck?
So while John's doing this, I'll just note, I found one article in one review from EPA that includes a literature review within it, talking about how these perk rates and LTARs were established. I'll send that to you guys as soon as I can here. There's a ton of math and things involved and it looks like there's a range of like 10 to 60. And then people sort of pick something in there.
Like randomly picked? It's not based on,
It doesn't seem random, but it seems based on lowest risk. I don't know how to do any of the math in there, so. I mean, I guess I used to, I don't know how to do it now.
yeah, can you just like highlight it red?
Yeah, I could do that, but I don't know why. I did it before and it went automatically aligned to it.
Yeah.
When I do this. And I press that, it completely disappears. I don't understand that. Huh. Hmm,
Yeah, just change the color, now we know.
red, we want red?
Yeah, pressure distribution system.
And I know that. Who did this? Well, that was strongly recommended is not, strongly recommended is not enforceable and should not be in a regulation, he said, one of the A's.
So either they do it or
Hmm?
so we either
He
say
said-
have pressure distribution.
Yeah. He said pressure is strongly recommended. He said it should be out, the whole thing
Okay,
is not enforceable and should not be in a regulation.
pressure distribution is not enforceable.
Yeah, I guess his point is by saying strongly recommended. People can do with that whatever they please. If it's not required, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And no one puts it in a pump unless you're over 2,000 gallons a day, then it's required. Anything that's under 2,000 gallons a day, you don't need to have.
Be a building, like a division.
Yeah. Yeah. Pressure distribution, I don't even know how it works with just something that's like. 330, 400 something. Gallons per day, I don't understand how that works at all, I don't think it does, I don't know who put that in there back then, but it's. Kind of bizarre.
That makes sense.
Here's. You wanna go over this one or what? Oh, wait till the next.
Well, how's everybody feeling? It's 8:22. But we're
Yeah, it's
almost,
up to you. If you want to, we could go over it, but whatever you guys want, that's fine.
we're almost to the bottom, like there's a lot cut out.
Huh? What's that?
There's not much left in the rig.
Yeah, right.
So we're
Right,
almost,
yes.
just think about these things tonight. We don't have to make decisions.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty compelling argument in there to not have witnessing.
Yeah, hold on to it. Yeah, that was. We'd have to hire staff and all sorts of stuff, so that didn't make sense. That's what they have to do out in Western Mass. Or
Yeah,
when
well,
it works. I don't think we have the same situations they have out in Western Mass.
Why do they have to do it?
I think they say they have inspectors they can't trust for some reason.
Oh. Okay,
They're, yeah,
sounds like a state problem.
Yeah. I haven't seen them here around this area because I haven't got lawyers coming into my office saying, I wanna see the inspection report because our client bought it and 3 months later, 6 months later, it failed. So you know that if there was a real issue, you'd have lawyers coming into our office saying, we want that report.
It's a good point.
And I've been here 8 years, I haven't seen them once come in. So most of I'd say most of the inspectors here are pretty good and they know what they're doing.
I don't think we have the problems here that we need to have this part.
Yeah.
We don't need to witness.
Yeah. And if we decide to do this, maybe how we was talking about getting the, what was it? I don't know what I said,
Well, the problem with doing that, we'd be the only one around. And if say regionally everyone started doing it, then we might have to jump on the bandwagon, but no one's doing this here. We don't have problems with our inspectors passing a
oh yeah,
system.
I said Metro West,
Yeah,
using all the town sheet they have over there and getting them all involved in this and saying, let's all do it.
yeah,
That way. You know, we get funding for the inspectors that would have to be out there doing this and it would be fair. It wouldn't be just like you have one town that's doing this, the other towns aren't, and they're an experiment, so to speak.
we don't
We need
need,
experiment. We need experiment and, you know,
alright. Now, that'd be something we add. We don't do that now. I, for one, don't think we need to.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
That's creating a problem where there is not one.
yes,
Or solving for a problem that doesn't exist, I guess, is a better way.
agreed.
nitrogen is a very interesting subject, interesting subject.
Well, I think most of the nitrogen stuff was already in Title V, so it took out a bunch of this, nitrogen.
Yeah. And we found out that using the wells around this town, measuring the nitrogen, it's all below the 5 milligrams. And even when we got that that person that sold their house, you know what I mean? And that he had to do the PFAS and all that, the nitrogen in his, his well sample was at like, I think like 3 point something milligrams, believe it. So that was low too. So you have the ability to monitor these nitrogens around the town very easily, not very easy, but from the town standpoint, there's like 6 wells, right? And every year they have the testing go out. And they get was it CCR, something like that? I can't remember exactly what it's called. And it tells us every bacterial that have been in the wells and what, the nitrogen, nitrate, I guess, there's some other things that they measure in that, but, yeah, they're all under the 10 milligrams is the one that is really considered where it's a danger. But 5 milligrams, I think Glenn also said that the DEP says, yeah, you gotta watch with 5. Be below 5, you're safe and you should be fine. But if it's 0, there's no one around. But we're a town with people, and you're gonna get more than 0, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
But
seems
for-
like Title V has the nitrogen part covered.
Yeah, it does. I think right now it says 10 milligrams for the IA technology. Where before it was 19 milligrams, 25, but 10 milligrams is considered a very,
Better.
new IAs. Down in Cape they want 10 milligrams. I mean 10 milligrams, right? I think it's the Cape that says you need that. If
Well,
you're
now
in
that-
zone 2.
which in nitrogen sensitive areas, wellhead protection areas, you probably want to protect it a little bit more. So 10 would make sense. The next. It's probably not that hard. Garbage grinders, they wreak havoc on septic systems. Everyone's considered, we don't have garbage grinders allowed in our current regulations. So I think the experts are recommending that we don't allow them for the future because they just Like you gotta double the size of your system. Just not treated
Right.
like clogs and failures and stuff, so.
And how you enforce that's a different question, but. it's
Like
telling
we
you
can't-
can't do-
No, so
Oh, what I wanted to do was go back up on this. And this is the cesspool. I plan on saying that the Title V inspection, the cesspool should be automatically failed. They're 50 years old. And they're probably influencing the water in the yards and whatnot, it's unbelievable. Why they're still allowed. Yeah, we can, we were discussing that, Calendar, whether or not we could just. Say cesspool from now on and Title V inspections, automatic failure. You're talking 1960s, 70s.
makes sense. It's not
You know,
treating at all. Time of sale. Successful considered to be failed.
Right,
So it looks like that's covered in Title V, but what you wanna do is call it out just so it's clear.
no, Title V is still allowed in Title.
Oh, is it? Cause
Yeah,
this,
Title V.
I guess, reading
Cesspools are,
this says cesspools are non-conforming systems. I guess I took that as they're not allowed, but that's
they're
not.
non-conforming, but they don't fail it,
Okay,
they don't fail it for the inspections.
okay.
Uh,
Is this controversial at all? I mean, like, would someone come to us and say, I want a variance for my
No.
cesspool?
I don't think so anymore, because there's lots of towns that have gotten rid of it.
Mhm.
And. There's not much you can argue. I think it's impossible for them to say, let's go to court, because the judge will say. It's 50, 60-year-old system, get a new one, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I guess the question is though, why is it not? I guess banned in Title V, is it?
Because. It's interesting, who knows? Who knows?
This is not me, by the way, supporting cesspools. I'm
Yeah,
just trying to make sure that if someone were to come ask us,
yeah, it's good.
do we have a good rationale? Other than
And
cesspool?
I don't, did Ayer, who's pretty good at understanding all this, I wonder what he thought of this, he didn't say you shouldn't do it. He said cesspools.
Cesspools are non-conforming and should be upgraded at time of property transfer.
Yeah, so he's for changing them. So if we say,
Where he said that, did he say that? Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah, comment 48.
Non-conforming systems that should be upgraded, yeah, right, he did, okay. Yeah,
So I guess is he saying actually that we should change the language to
that,
from will not pass to they are non-conforming and this must happen?
right, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
That would be consistent with what's in Title V. I
right,
think.
right,
It's a lot of damn words in here.
yeah.
agree with that. Non-conforming systems should be upgraded when property transfer. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Also not.
Accessory dwelling units. That's good. Having that there, it's good. See.
All garbage containers are prohibited. That's more protected.
What's this? What was that? Karen?
Garbage grinders are prohibited still. We won't change that.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yes, I agree.
I don't think there's a good argument for including them. And people putting them in against code is not a good
Oh,
reason
yeah.
to say, go ahead and do
Yeah,
it.
right. It's tough to police that
Yeah,
at all. You know,
Excuse me. Just gonna say some crazy things, now to China to talk about septic regulations.
Doesn't want to talk about septic regulations.
Yeah, he realized that was a bad idea immediately.
I think that's pretty much the gist of it. They're saying about this, what is it about the our fee schedule and stuff like that. We should set that in a separate document. So we can adjust fees according to,
oh, right,
like, we adjust it without having to change our regulations, basically.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can refer to fees elsewhere.
And Glenn Ayers doesn't like variances, I don't know why, I think his variances are fine to put in it, but he says it's already in Title V, why put it in here?
Yeah,
I
well,
still think,
it's Title V, we probably don't need it.
yeah. I just think it gives the boards, the people reading the local reg the idea that they can, use variances, I mean. Kind of. I don't know, I think it. Advertise. Both the board and the people. Who are interested in getting a variance or developing it, wondering if it can be done. At all. You know what I mean? Because technically, if the local reg doesn't have this in here, we don't have to obey anything that Title V says variances have. And if you didn't have variances in this, you may assume that you can't do anything with these regs. If they are what they are, that's that, you know what I mean?
Well, Title V, it says, they have to prove that strict compliance with the Title V regulations would be manifestly unjust.
Right.
So that's supposed to be very hard to prove. Which would mean you give less variances, so maybe we take that out and go with Title V, they got stricter.
We could just write variances, see Title V and give the,
Yeah, they're,
section and so forth, they're in Title V. That's it,
Yeah.
like that, there.
variances should be rare.
Right, that's why we're here, because we had a lot of variances and thought, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
We must need an update.
to basically, let's change our regulations just for you. The regulations are there for a reason. We shouldn't be changing them. Without demonstrated. Manifestly unjust, that's the wording. They have no reasonable alternative to comply with septic requirements, yet face extreme hardship. Take out that.
Was this whole thing right here?
Yeah, we just refer back to, well, do we even have to refer back to Title V?
I think it's important to refer back to them because again, people looking at it would say you can't vary anything at the town level because. You know what I mean? There's no. Because the town doesn't have to necessarily say we're following Title V with our regs. And therefore, Title V variances are automatic with us, no. We have to say that we're either granting variances or use Title V language to say you do have the potential.
Well, the only variances we would be giving would be for our increased standards.
Right, we can't grant a variance to Title V, only if we deviate from Title V could we grant a variance.
Yeah.
It actually says on this page I have here, Mass DEP will no longer be approving variances.
Wow,
See the Title V changes from 2014?
Oh, yeah, right.
they give no variances whatsoever.
They basically gave Title V variances by local boards like crazy. It's unbelievable, really. Except for there's two things you can't grant variances for. But almost everything in Title V, they said boards can, you know, do variances on it, and it's unbelievable, really. It's like 410 or something.
Yeah, it is. It's 410.
410, yeah.
And it has the language he has in there, manifestly unjust and that sort of thing.
So if you want it out, that's fine, I mean, it's up to, I mean, cause, Glenn says get it out of there, if you say let it, get it out of there, Carol, and the rest of the board, that's fine.
I mean, we could even say something as simple as variances must comply with Title V. Title V has a pretty lengthy section on variances. That will require us, though, when someone comes before us to pull this out and make sure that we are compliant.
We should probably be doing that anyway.
Right.
Maybe we'll keep the part about we need the variance. And supporting document submitted for 10 days prior to the hearing. Part at the end of that statement. Just so we have time to research it instead of being surprised the day of the meeting.
Yeah.
We need time to research. The variance shall be in writing.
Yeah. I think all that makes sense.
Yeah, keep that bottom paragraph.
Bottom one here? This one of every request, that's in here,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you wanna keep that?
yeah.
Yeah, that
make
one's really
it-
clear. They can't just show up on Monday night and say, I want a variance.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Better.
These things are typical.
Yeah, I think all that
Yeah,
is
that's
just.
all.
I don't think we changed anything.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. Alright, so. We have the board, we just got a little bit of homework to do.
Yeah, the 3060, a big one.
3060 is a big one.
What was the other big one? The 15, September 15, May, something like that. I don't know if that's really.
That's
I think
just,
it's-
if we're only using that, if the, hydromorphic testing doesn't work.
Oh,
they
yeah,
can't-
right. Yeah,
Then I
I
don't
think-
think there should be a problem with that, because we're allowing for the more scientific testing to be conducted and taking that, first. So it's, I don't know if that's controversial.
yeah. The 10 bedroom, yeah, that's the big one, so.
Yeah.
10 bedrooms.
I think the other things are distances from wells, water, wetlands, vernal pools.
Which one's that?
Our setback distances.
Oh, yeah,
And like the uphill, downhill, we can make it by
right,
what Glenn said,
yeah.
hydraulic gradients. Just that section. We're all good with no garbage grinders. That's not controversial, right?
No,
Dual pumps. We don't do it anyway.
no.
Alright. But inspecting the Title Fives, I think we all agree that's not necessary in our area.
Currently not. You know,
Well, in the future, if it becomes necessary, we can always add it back or add it. So let's keep it out for now. Cesspools, automatic,
yeah,
Upgrade upon sale of house. And just change the variance language and we'll work on that and we'll get back to it on next meeting, but those are the
Yeah, sounds good.
coming together. All right. If we had any minutes, do we have any minutes to review? Did we have meeting minutes to review?
Meeting minutes, oh, it's interesting, yeah, I don't know. That is interesting. Let me see.
Do that really quick. See. And the director's report's all we got down. Minutes.
See any in this? No, maybe, wait, hold on, maybe that's, oh, I can't. Gotta be careful how that is, meeting minutes, oh, yeah, I get in trouble. March 9th. Right, you guys have done that, right? Right?
March.
Get this. Right,
There. Oh. 6:06 PM. We changed the date of our meeting from April 9th to the 13th, right? Because of the under 6:06 PM, our GWMP postponed until April 9th.
what was that? What was that?
It's 6:06 PM,
6:06 PM,
WMP.
okay,
Probably be
April
postponed.
13th, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You say until the next meeting, the end of the pool variance. Or is till acceptable?
Probably technically should be until. So the last sentence under, yeah, right about where you are, over about 5 words to the left. Yep.
And item till,
What is it, this? Ultimately,
Right. Change this to until.
oh, yeah. Why is that going to red?
you get two L's.
Oh, yeah. One L.
So for the thing at 7:01, have we or do we need to do something to memorialize this?
Do we need to vote on guidelines? So like the select board also has that kind of rule where you gotta submit a certain number of days before the meeting, so they have time to look at the information and research.
Right, is that just posted on the website or do you know how that was disseminated?
I think it's on the website.
Maybe you
Right.
can find out from like Jim McKay or someone if they had to
Mhm.
actually vote, or if you can just put guidelines on the town
Right.
website.
Yeah.
I think it's more a matter of coordinating who does the website, getting them to do it is more the hurdle.
Right, I guess I just wanted to make sure we didn't have to like officially vote on it or something.
Yeah.
I said, I have no idea. I could see it both ways.
We definitely want that information in at least 5 days before the meeting, because especially with complex areas, we don't wanna have to
Yeah,
get it the day of the meeting and say, geez, I gotta get all this in less than a day.
Maybe we can ask. Select board. Or, like maybe the town. Admin. Cause they
that's
do
probably
have,
good. That's why I mentioned Jim McKay. I just figured he was around when they did this, but,
that's whether or not we need to make a vote on that. We should probably put it on our website if we're gonna. Prevent.
I think Heather said she looked this up at the select board, and they don't do this for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I think she talked to the select board, talked to Karen and Mike about this. Can't remember what she said. I think she said there's nothing that they require, I guess, I don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
Maybe we can ask the people submit. Cause if an item needs more research, we can always.
My gut feeling is we need to vote on it, but I personally prefer that we run this through town admin or whoever the right person is, just to make sure we do it the right way. Cause what I don't wanna do is, you know, cause problems for John because people come to him 4 days ahead of time. And they're like, well, you didn't vote on it or whatever, but I also don't wanna bind our hands where we did something else.
Alright, let's research that a little more.
There probably won't be anything significant that happens between now and next meeting. I'm sure it can
It
wait,
can,
especially since we got the pool taken care of.
long the pool.
yeah.
Alright. Moving on from that. Yeah, okay. Any more changes anyone sees?
Looks good to me.
Okay,
There's a PhD there. He's like, you're the PhD. He's like, John, where's your PhD from, John? I don't have one. I don't have it. public health director. That's what,
Or PhD.
yeah, I know.
All right, motion to approve the March 9th, 2026 meeting minutes with changes as noted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Asking you to director's notes or director's report.
Yeah. Like director's meeting report. 13/26 of March. Lots of food service inspections. Myself and Angelo. did a lot of foods. Because we have 6 months. 6 months inspections.
What's HESCO? I know I should know that after like 8 years.
That's down in the COA downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Elderly place. They all turned out pretty well. Not bad at all.
And what's 3Bs? Is that in someone's home?
It's home, that's
Okay.
at home. Usually cakes. And low risk foods, very low risk foods. Title V inspection reports 5, inspection, no, 3, Title V inspections passed. Septic tests and plans, 51 spent.
Sorry, wait, why does it say 2 in parentheses 3?
Oh, because I did that today, I think this is 2 and 3. That looks. Yeah. And 51 Spencer, bottom. So they're actually physically building right now, the septic system is approved. Housing. Apartment 2, building 48, Stony Brook. A 93 Curve Street housing, that may actually come to the next meeting. May meeting. Because the landlord wants to be cleared of what I wrote, the order to correct. And I don't think there's really anything he's got an argument of, but he's gonna try to do that anyways. Okay, and so we said he has a right to request it. So I said, okay, you can come to board if you want to.
Is this someone we've spoken with previously, or is this new?
No. Well, testing 50 Causeway Street, drinking well, potential sales, and they passed. They passed the sales, they passed the chemical tests. Passed that test.
So what are they
He
selling
passed
it for?
everything, huh?
What are they selling it for? Like pool water?
Hmm?
What are they selling it for?
Maybe
This
just
is
wholesale.
this is the actual house and as well.
Oh,
they
I'm
did-
sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't understand.
and the PFAS were perfect in that, and the radon first passed.
Great.
Everything passed really well, great. Which is good, because it's the first time we had this experiment, so to speak. You know what I mean? Cause the guy was like, I can't believe we're gonna do this, I can't believe it, It was $1,200 to do the test, so it was more pricey than the $300 we usually get in these, $1,200, but. You know. So. These are the. Yeah, these are the meetings we went to, some regulation meetings, shelter meetings, we went to a shelter meeting. 4/1/2026, it's pretty good, I had, Mike. Karen, the town manager and town assistant manager and the fire chief went to this. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
We update our regulations for shelter management or the town's set plan. Some point.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. That's that.
So it looks like we have a meeting already scheduled for May 5th.
Yes,
Do we need to do a June one?
sorry,
Do we need to set a June one?
June we haven't set, so that's,
Okay. June 15th.
I think that works.
Let's set it for June 15th, 6 p.m. And I did find where on the select board's page, or under agenda procedures, it says, in order for items to be considered for the agenda must be submitted to the town administrator by 2 p.m. on the 4th business day prior to the board's meeting date. So they can do it, and they do it. It's in there. I sent that to you and Heather, so maybe we can copy that wording for the Board of Health. I think we just have to post it somewhere. Anything, other business? That's all.
That's everything.
So motion to adjourn the April 13th, 2026 Board of Health meeting.
Second,
All in favor? Hi.
I,
Great. See you in May.
see you in May.
hey, good weather tomorrow, almost 80-something degrees, right?
So
It's gonna be really nice tomorrow, very nice.
Go outside.
I know.
Bye, everyone.